Hello my friends, this is Otaku Cook and today I'm making Chicago style deep dish pizza. We'll first start by making our Italian sausage. You need to make this a night prior to when you make the pizza. The ingredients are very simple and rather easy to get in most Indian kitchens, so it shouldn't be a problem. The first thing we'll need to do is pulverize 5 to 6 cloves of garlic. I'm using a mortar and pestle, but you can use a mixer. As you can see, I have added a little salt at the beginning, 1 teaspoon to be exact. This is done for two reasons. One, this makes it easier for you to pulverize the garlic. Second, we're going to add half of our salt now and half later. That way we can adjust the seasoning to our liking. Next we are going to add 1 tablespoon of dry roasted cumin and grind it as fine as we can. Next is dry roasted coriander seeds. Now I am using roasted coriander powder which I already had in my house, but if you don't have something like this you need to toast it yourself. If you have something like this, feel free to use it. Now this is one of the most important ingredients that you require for making Italian sausage. You can skip on other things such as coriander, cumin or whatever, but you need fennel seeds because that is one of the most prominent ingredients that you can taste in an Italian sausage. Next is oregano and chili flakes. Now the amount that you add for these ingredients are completely on your liking. Add as little or as much as you like. Now I have changed to a bigger bowl because we just need to mix in some ingredients, so I really don't need the mortar and pestle for this, plus there wasn't enough space in it. Now all we need to add is a tablespoon of sugar and 1 tablespoon of freshly ground black pepper. Now you can add your minced meat. I'm using pork over here. Now before you add it, make sure that you add a little amount of water in your spice mix. Now I don't have to repeat myself about this, but you can use any meat of your liking for making this recipe. That being said, pork is the most preferred meat for making Italian sauces since this is traditionally used for it. Now this is also the time when you add the rest of your salt into the mixture. That is another 1 teaspoon of salt. Now put this mixture into your fridge and let it marinate overnight so that the ingredients would get to know each other. You can use this today, but it won't taste as good as tomorrow. Now this is the next day and we'll start by making our dough. The first thing you'll require to do is activate your yeast. For that you'll need 5 grams of active dry yeast, 5 grams of sugar, a mixture of 100 ml of water and 25 ml of milk. Warm the solution of water and milk just a little and then add it on to your yeast and sugar. Make sure that you mix it well so that the sugar is dissolved and the yeast isn't clumping up. Next you need to add 50 grams of corn meal, that is makeka atta, into 250 grams of all-purpose flour. Now for this recipe, bread flour would do wonders, but I couldn't get it and I'm assuming that most of you guys won't be able to get it either. So all-purpose flour does work and it does give you good results, just that bread flour is just perfect for this recipe. Next you need to add your activated yeast into your flour and corn mixture gradually, evenly distributing it so that you don't get any dry spots. This will of course help you distribute the moisture all across the flour. When all your yeast has been added, add a little water if necessary to remove any residual yeast that is stuck to your bowl. Make sure that you don't add a lot of water, it's just to clean up the bowl and get as much yeast into the flour mixture as possible. You don't want a dough that's too soft. Now that the yeast has been added, incorporate the dry flour into the wet dough and start kneading it until all of the flour has been absorbed. This might take about 8 to 10 minutes, although it will be much better if you have a mixer for this, because I had to change vessels for me to be comfortable kneading it. Once you're done kneading the dough, roll it into a ball and let it rise for about an hour. Now that the dough is left to rise, we can focus on making our tomato sauce. And this sauce is one of the most easiest, quickest, cheapest and tastiest sauce that you will ever have. This is my special poor man's marinara sauce. And why do I call it poor man's? Well, let me tell you, by just showing it to you. Now you'll need to finely chop 5 to 6 cloves of garlic and 1 onion. Now the next ingredient is what makes this the poor man's marinara. You see, tomatoes are used for making marinara sauce. Special tomatoes. They are called plum tomatoes. Most popularly known as San Marzano tomatoes. The problem is they are expensive and hard to get. On top of that, they come in cans, and that kind of makes it inconvenient for me because either I have to use all of it or none of it. The best way to counter that is to improvise, and for that I'm using our regular tomatoes, Husa rubies to be specific. All you need to do is blanch these tomatoes, remove the skin and seeds, make sure that you don't waste the pulp at all, and cut them in fours. Now there are a few reasons to remove the skin and seeds. Firstly, you need to remove the skin because the skin takes time to cook. It doesn't break down so easily. And the reason why you need to remove the seeds is because 1, they taste bitter, and 2, it ruins the texture of the sauce. So if you don't want your sauce to taste bitter, don't add any seeds in it. And if you want to reduce the time of cooking, remove the skin. Now you don't have to be so delicate when cutting the tomatoes for this recipe. In fact, you don't even need to cut them. All you can do is put them in a bowl and squeeze them with your hand. That will work as well. Next, you need to add 150 ml of tomato puree. Any tomato puree would do. Doesn't matter what brand you're using, although a sweeter one is preferable. Also, don't forget to use some water to rinse out any residual puree that is left in your packet. Now add a little olive oil in a pan and let it get hot. Once your pan is heated, add your garlic first. Let your garlic turn a little brown and then you can add your onion. Let it get a little pink. Then add bay leaf. Now I am using two small ones, but you can use one big and that would be just fine. Mix them all together, and in about a minute you can add your oregano and chili flakes. Now these two ingredients completely depend on your taste. If you like oregano, you can add as much as you like. If you like your sauce spicy, you can add as much chili flakes as you like. Once you start seeing your onions brown just a little, you can now add your tomato and tomato puree. You can add a little water if you like, if not, that's okay. Now you need to let it come to a boil. Once this comes to a boil, cover it for about 5 to 6 minutes. After about 5 minutes, remove the lid and remove your bay leaf. If you keep them for a long time, it will turn the sauce bitter. You don't want that. Next, by using a spoon or a spatula or whatever you have, start breaking down your tomatoes. Now, the texture of the sauce completely depends on you. If you like it smooth, you need to just put it in a mixer and pulverize it into a smooth sauce. If you like it a little chunky, just like me, you can just break it down by using a spoon or a spatula. If you like it really chunky, just don't do anything. Let it break down on its own and you'll get something of your liking. Next, you need to add about a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of sugar. Again, depending on your taste, you choose how sweet you like your sauce. For me, this much amount of sweetness was absolutely perfect. After adding your seasoning, cook it for about 5 minutes more and your sauce is ready. Back to the dough. Now it has been about an hour since we have let it rise, and it's time to add the ingredient that makes this pizza absolutely magical. That is unsalted clarified butter. Well, correction, because we are going to add salt in it. So you'll require 2 to 3 tablespoons of clarified butter. In that you'll need to add 1 teaspoon of salt. Now you need to melt this butter beforehand and mix your salt in so that the salt dissolves in it. Then take your dough and start incorporating the butter into it. Knead it for about 5 to 7 minutes. And if you think that this is a lot of butter, don't worry, your dough will absorb it. All you need to do is knead it until the dough absorbs all the butter and it's completely smooth. Then let it rise again for about an hour. Now that we have let it rise for total of 2 hours and pretty much doubled or maybe even tripled in size, we can now start making our pizza. First, you need to remove all the air out of it. Roll it into a log and divide it in two. Now, as you can see, I'm using a cake mold for this recipe, which is not ideal for making deep dish pizza. That being said, this still turned out really good. But if you have something like a pie dish, it will be much easier for you to work with, especially when removing it out. See, the thing is that either you can use parchment paper or butter the sides of your cake mold and be patient with it, because if you won't be patient with it, it will break. Regardless of whether you're using a pie dish or a cake mold, you need to do is take 1/2 of your dough, roll it into a flat disc put that in the middle of your mold or pie dish and press it down and push it to the corners. Once you push it into a corner, try to expand the dough on the corners. Once you get the height of your desire, with your knuckles press down on the edge of your mold so that the dough sticks to the edges. Now our dough does have a lot of butter, so it won't stick after you're done cooking it. So don't be afraid of it not coming out. That being said, once you're done with applying the dough to the mold, you can start adding your toppings and sauce. Now that we are done molding our dough, we can start by adding our toppings. The first layer is going to be of cheese. Yes, I know this sounds weird, but trust me, it tastes absolutely amazing. So, the cheese that I'm using here is low moisture mozzarella and fresh mozzarella. Now, you can use either one of them. That would be our first layer. The second layer is going to be that of the sausage. Put as much as you like, but make sure that you evenly distribute it so that you can get a little in every bite. Then we're going to cover the sausage with our sauce, again distributing it evenly. Finally, just a little grated parmesan on the top. That's it. Then you need to put that in a 210-degree oven for 30 minutes. Nothing less than 30 minutes, trust me. If you want the pizza to come out in one piece and be nice and crispy and flaky and absolutely delicious, cook it for 30 minutes. Now, that being said, many ovens are different in heat and size, so it might differ, but the cooking time is still going to be around 30 minutes. So keep an eye on the pizza. And that is how you make a Chicago style deep dish pizza. If you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Until next time.